You know what's weird? We romanticize billionaires and their 5 a.m. routines. We dissect crypto bros and their Lamborghinis. But there's a quiet group of people who turned $50,000 into 7 figures on completely normal salaries. And nobody talks about them. They're your coworker who packs lunch every single day, yet quietly has more invested than everyone in the office combined. Your neighbor who hasn't bought a new car in a decade but owns 3 rental properties outright. The friend who agonizes over a $15 appetizer but wired $40,000 into an index fund last month without telling a soul. And here's what nobody tells you. Their money psychology is completely unlike what anyone teaches, and it all traces back to one specific moment that broke their brains in the most interesting way. Picture this. It's 2011. You're 24. You just landed your first real salary. Everyone around you upgrades. New car lease, nicer apartment, dinners out every Friday. You do the same because that's the deal. You earn more, you spend more. The formula makes sense. Now flash forward to 2021. You're 34. You earn twice what you made at 24, and you have almost nothing to show for it. Same $5,000 in savings, bigger apartment, more subscriptions, more monthly payments. Then you meet someone at a friend's wedding. They earn less than you. They have $250,000 invested. They don't look rich. They don't act rich, but the numbers don't lie. The formula was a lie. And that realization shaped every dollar decision they'd make for the rest of their lives. Here's the first weird thing about this group. They stopped trying to look successful. They have the highest net worth in their social circles, and everyone assumes they're doing fine, nothing special. According to the Ramsey Solutions National Study of Millionaires, the largest ever conducted, surveying over 10,000 millionaires, the top car brands they drive are Toyota, Honda, and Ford. The average millionaire in the study drives a 4-year-old car with 41,000 miles on it. 8 out of 10 bought their cars with cash. 93% use coupons. 94% live on less than they make. And here's the thing. These people didn't just build resistance to spending. They genuinely lost the appetite for it. They looked at the gap between appearing wealthy and actually being wealthy, and they picked a side. They're not cheap. They just realized that the money you spend looking rich is exactly the money that would have made you actually rich. Let's talk about the part nobody posts on social media. It took them 28 years. This is where everybody quits. $50,000 is the point where compounding starts to become real, but it doesn't feel real. Your portfolio goes from $50,000 to $62,000 in a year, and your brain says, I saved for 12 months and made $12,000? I could have just taken a nice trip. The $50,000 to $300,000 stretch is where compounding is technically working, but completely invisible. Nobody makes content about this phase because there's nothing to show. The millionaires in the Ramsey study took an average of 28 years to reach 7 figures. 28 years. And 80% of them did it primarily through consistent 401k contributions. Not day trading, not crypto, not a lucky break, just showing up every paycheck for decades. A widely cited internal review at Fidelity found their best-performing accounts from 2003 to 2013 belonged to investors who had either died or completely forgotten they had accounts. The edge wasn't intelligence, it was inactivity. They don't need their portfolio to be exciting. They don't need dopamine from their brokerage app. And that emotional separation from their money is the actual edge that nobody talks about. Here's something that surprises people. They're terrified about money, and that's exactly why they have so much of it. They're simultaneously the most anxious about losing everything and the most consistent at building wealth. They don't believe the system will protect them. They don't trust that their company won't lay them off tomorrow. They don't assume their investments are safe. But they save anyway, every single month. Psychologists call this defensive pessimism. You assume everything will go wrong,
So you prepare obsessively, and then you're covered when it does. It's exhausting, but it works. And honestly, they're not wrong to be paranoid. They watched 2008 happen. They saw people who did everything right lose half their retirement overnight. The lesson wasn't, don't invest. The lesson was invest, but never assume you're safe. So they keep saving, keep preparing, not because they believe it'll all work out, but because what else are you going to do? Now here's where it gets really interesting. They take bigger risks than anyone around them. They pack lunches and use coupons and then hold a stock portfolio through a 40% crash without selling a single share. That makes no sense until you understand the math.
DALBAR's quantitative analysis of investor behavior has tracked investor decisions since 1985. Year after year, the finding is the same. The average investor earns far less than the market itself, not because they pick bad investments, but because they panic sell during downturns and buy back in after the recovery. Over 20 years, that behavioral gap turned $100,000 into just $345,000 for the average investor, versus over $700,000 for someone who simply did nothing. This group figured that out, not from reading studies, from watching. It's 2009. They watched people who played it safe, savings accounts, money market funds, get quietly eaten alive by inflation over a decade. And they watched coworkers who panicked during the crash sell at the bottom and lock in their losses permanently. The safe option wasn't safe. The panicked response was the most expensive decision of all. That lesson rewired everything. So now, they'll agonize over a $15 lunch, but sit perfectly still through a market collapse. It looks contradictory. It's actually the most rational thing they do. Let's talk about how they spend, because this is where everyone gets confused. They have emergency funds and high savings rates, but they'll also drop $4,000 on a trip without flinching. They're financially paranoid and experientially extravagant at the same time. And it's the exact same psychology driving both behaviors. They save obsessively because systems can't be trusted. They spend on experiences because stuff can't be trusted either. Your house can go underwater. Your car loses value the second you drive it off the lot. Your possessions mean nothing when the economy turns. But that trip to Japan? That concert with your best friend in 2019? Nobody can foreclose on those memories. You can't lose them in a market crash. It's actually brilliant when you think about it. They figured out that in an unstable economy, experiences give you a better return than things. The bank can't repossess a trip you already took. Here's a habit that seems obvious, but almost nobody actually does it. They don't trust themselves with money decisions. They're extremely intentional about money, but they remove themselves from most of those decisions. Auto transfers into index funds, auto rebalancing, rules they set once and never touch. It's 2014. They tried the "I'll transfer money manually every month" approach in their 20s. Skipped March because rent was tight. Skipped July because they wanted a new TV. By December, they'd saved half of what they planned, so they set up auto deductions and stopped looking at the account. The difference? Control. When they make decisions in the moment, emotions win. When they set up systems in advance, math wins. And they learned the hard way that they will always talk themselves out of the right financial decision if given the chance. So they stopped giving themselves the chance. It's not discipline. It's the opposite. They realize discipline fails, so they removed the need for it entirely. One last thing that separates this group from everybody else. They picked a number and stopped competing. They could spend significantly more than they do. They genuinely don't want to. Thomas Stanley spent 20 years studying millionaire households for the Millionaire next door and found the same pattern over and over. They defined a specific financial freedom number and stopped inflating their lifestyle once they hit it, even as income kept growing. Most people chase a moving goalpost. Earn $80,000, want $120,000. Earn $120,000, want $200,000. That's why people earning $300,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. The goalpost never stops moving. This group stopped the treadmill. They picked their number, reverse-engineered the math, and stopped caring about what everyone else was buying. They're not motivated by more. They're motivated by freedom. Completely different fuel source. And that's why the math works for them when it doesn't for people earning 3 times their salary. So here's what this group's money psychology really tells us. They're not confused or contradictory. They're adapted. Specifically adapted to an economy that rewards patience and punishes performance. They're stealth millionaires in used Toyotas with coupons in their wallets and 7-figure portfolios they barely look at. They trust nothing, prepare for everything, and show up every paycheck anyway. Because what else are you going to do? Remember that person at the wedding? The one earning less than you with $250,000 invested? They learned the formula. They just also learned the formula was a lie. So now they play the game, but they never forget it's rigged. If you found this interesting, drop a comment about the money habit that shifted things for you. And if you want more psychology behind how money actually works, subscribe so you catch the next one.